Being involved in church is a value for our family. I know since childhood, my brother and I didn't have a choice about being involved, but I'm happy we didn't, because as a child, you don't really understand it, but as an adult, I'm so thankful we have the experience we do as serving in church. And our examples were our parents. My dad was an elder and served on our finance committee for years. My mom was in children's ministry. She was a church clerk, eventually head usher, head deaconess. And so for us, service kind of went hand in hand with church attendance. We never just showed up to attend church. We showed up to also serve in church. And I'm really thankful for that.
And one thing I'd like to add to that is that the service was shown to our children by allowing them to participate. I do remember one time when Eddie and Darlene Jones were the AYS leaders. Along with what Andrea was saying is I can remember how Andrew and Andrea experienced giving service to others, because we took them with us to the Union Mission with the AYS. They were the youngest and the smallest people there, but they had their aprons on and they were there serving the people. And I think that's was a hands-on experience that really started them on their way.
I think one of the greatest blessings is relationships, because service is not about you, and I think that's why it's so important. But people we've met along the way, people I've met in the more recent years in our Soul Impact the City ministry, people we've met inside a church that started as friends but have become family, they all kind of centered around service. And so I think without having served in church, we wouldn't have met some of the people we met and gained the relationships that we did.
I think God has blessed me with the gift of service as it relates to helps, teaching, leadership, and giving. I just know that as a former teacher and principal, those same gifts I used 5 days a week to help others.
I believe communication just at large. I like talking to people. I believe hospitality, leadership, and administration, because service is great just for the relationship building, but you also have to be organized and know what you're doing and your audience that you're doing it with. And so I think having those skills kind of also as an educator has really come into play in terms of like how service is also organized. I think we do a really good job at creating teams around this, and this could kind of play into our gifts as leaders and administrators. I know that in my current role as our outreach ministries director, I could not do, and our church could not do, 1/10 of the service without a great team around me. And so I don't have to be here every Sunday for the pantry to run. I don't have to plan blood drives because we have somebody who does that. I don't manage all community partners because somebody handles that. So I think creating teams around us is what avoids burnout, because one, as my mom said, we're not here for the gain of it, so we don't have to be the face of service all the time. But having a hand and making sure it's organized really does help avoid burnout.
Along with that, I would say that having teams is important. It makes everybody work better and feel like they are part of. And I am now working as the head usher, and it's just been a great experience already because everybody gets an opportunity to be the head each week. And I think that builds community, it builds trust, and it just helps me not to always have to fulfill that. And so as a family, we have a lot of family fun time too, because when you work in church a lot, there's a great need that you do take time and remember your family and have good fun with them.
Yes, there's one in particular. It happened a few months ago. This is happening at the food pantry. So we have a regular, I'll say guest that comes, and there was a time that we did see her for a while, and then when she returned, it was a very emotional return. And so oftentimes at the pantry, guests will ask for volunteers to pray with them. And this particular guest shared that she had recently been diagnosed with breast cancer. She was very scared. She didn't really know what to do, and we're so happy that she came. And then one of our volunteers is a breast cancer survivor, and they were able to connect. And so we prayed for her, and she would come week after week. She would tell us when she would have her next doctor's appointment. And so we were staying up to date with her and praying for her. And then we didn't see her for about 2 months. She had surgery and took time off. And then one day she came with an envelope, and she didn't even, I wish I had a sheet of paper, but she didn't even speak. She just started waving the paper as she was coming down, and then she parked, and she almost jumped out of her car. And she was so excited to share with us that she's cancer free. and she thanked particularly the volunteer who was a cancer survivor, but then all those who prayed for her the weeks that she was coming. And it was just a great reminder that we are meeting a practical need, but we also prioritize spiritual needs. And so to see that the pantry is more than food, and that it was a blessing to her in a space of peace to have prayer before a major surgery was really wonderful, and just kind of reminded us like why we do what we do.
So Andrea just shared an example of how those who work at the pantry shared with a visitor. I do recall that as the head deaconess, we had a text feed going all the time. And anytime any of our deaconesses or a family member of theirs or even some close friends were in need of prayer, we would do that, because that's a service that we also is needed to provide internally too. I know it is also important to go outside the church, but here we have members who are in need. And even when there were members who might need food, money, other things, we would try to minister to their needs. And I think that was hopefully me sharing how I like to do my spiritual gift of help with my deaconesses, and it just filtered throughout all of us.